You're very welcome to the Woman to Woman show here on Confident Women Ireland's YouTube channel with me, Roisin McClerick. And I'm very welcome back to Mary Curran, who is one of Ireland's most leading and experienced life, business, career change and leadership coaches here in Ireland. Mary was one of the first coaches to bring coaching and life coaching here to Ireland. So we are so lucky to have Mary as part of the Confident Women Ireland. Mary is also the amazing author of Life Begins When You're Ready to Listen. And we've gone through all the chapters of this book that Mary has written. I cannot recommend this book enough. I love every moment of it. And as I say in all the interviews, as soon as Mary sent me the book, I took the weekend on the couch and I had my very own Mary Curran holistic retreat. So Mary, you are so welcome back to the Woman to Woman show here on Confident Women Ireland.
Thank you, Roisin. Thank you.
So Mary, today we are going to talk about work-life balance and the empty nest syndrome.
Yeah, it's a very interesting area for women of my age and some younger as well. You see, when we have children, now most of us have children. I'm not saying everybody our age have children, but most of us that have children, we spend a lot of our years like putting them first and doing everything for them. And then when they grow up and they leave the nest and they go out into the bigger world, some women will find, what do I do next? Like some women will be saying, do I have a work-life balance? I dedicate my whole time to my children. So the very first thing to realize is your needs change, and I would work a lot with women that would say, "Me, I don't feel needed anymore." When my kids were around me, they needed me and they would help me and get me out and about because I'd be doing things for them as well. So the first thing I often do with women that are come to me for work-life balance at that age would be to ask, what are their needs now in life? Now, needs are different to values, So when you get them to identify what their needs are now, then we look at their values and what's important to them. And then we'd work together on starting to bring in and introduce new things into their lives. So that's where we would start. But like, when you say work-life balance, it's really important for everybody at any age to have a good work-life balance. Because I know one person, I met somebody at the weekend, he said he works 90 hours as a chef. And I just happened to be sitting beside him for a little while. And I just said, when did you get time to be? I said, are you married? Are you on your own? He goes, no, I'm married. I barely ever see my children. And now I wasn't coaching him. I was at a barbecue and it was my friend's barbecue. But I just thought, this man really needs to sit down and think about his life. He was in his late 30s, but working 90 hours a week. I mean, where is there time for anything else,
There isn't.
No.
My daughter says the same because she's a doctor and she says, I'm working 80 hours. I don't have time for anything. And she's only 32.
Yeah.
So even that work-life balance is getting it right.
And how you get it right is when I'm working with somebody in the work-life balance area, I get them to do a typical week in their life. I get them to draw out a typical week and they share with me what happens from the time to get up till the time to go to bed. And then we look for the windows where they can bring something new in, start doing a hobby or something, and then they must take something out. The reason people get overwhelmed is they add on to what they're already doing, and then they're going, where do I get the time? I can't bring this in. I can't do this. So they have to take something out if you're going to put something in.
And I can understand that because I used to be very active. Then I had an accident and I wasn't active. And then I remember, this is the thing is about taking time out and finding that time to put in a hobby or something.
Yeah.
I need to get back and moving and exercise again.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find that time. So in the end, I had to make the time in that day of, do I go for a walk at this time? Do I go for exercise at this time? Or do I do it in the morning? Do I do it at lunchtime? Or do I do it in the evening time? So finding that time and the space and place in your diary in the day is so
Yeah.
important.
That's very true, Roshan. What I do, I need a walk every day. So I put it into my diary as if it's a client. Now it's
Mm.
different times, different days because I'm working different hours. But I always put in an hour walk. And now I could be putting in the name of Jane or something, but I know it's for my walk because I
Yeah.
must get out every day unless it's absolutely raining really bad. So yeah, I think people sometimes look after other people and make time for other people and don't look after themselves sometimes. Especially I think women, we are very much the motherly figure and we give a lot and sometimes we forget to give time to ourselves.
Yeah. And that is part of the work-life balance, isn't it? It's that self-care and it's
Yeah,
giving ourselves time and to ourselves to clear our head and get rid of the clutter within our head. So
yeah.
that work-life balance, it also affects our health too.
Oh, it does, of course. And our mindset. I know you're very into the mindset. I mean, when I went away for the few days, it really helped my mind. I was able to write and empty my mind and reflect a lot because reflection is very powerful. And it gave me time to realize where am I now? What do I want to do next? So, I mean, giving ourselves time just to be, as Wayne Dyer would say, we're human beings, not human doings.
Yes.
Because a lot of us go into doing when we get agitated or we get annoyed, some of us will go into doing things instead of standing back and feeling where you're feeling low or pain or whatever and being in touch with it through doing a mindfulness exercise or something. But it is difficult for some people to maintain a work-life balance.
It is, especially when, as you were talking about earlier, you're always doing. You're
Yeah,
always doing instead of being.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
think that's very important. And when we're always doing, I remember a couple of people would say, if you're always doing, what are you blocking out?
yeah. Well, when you're always doing, you're escaping. You're
Yes.
escaping. Workaholics escape through working. That's how they escape their lives. They just work and work and work and work. So it is about being rather than doing and finding time for that. And the best way, and I know it, the wheel of life is brilliant for saying, let's take a look at each area in your life. Because some people will say, I don't know where I get the time. I'm always, as you said, doing this, that, and the other. So you break it down, you get them to look at the 8 areas in their life and ask them what ones need attention. And like the most important thing is work-life balance is having a healthy lifestyle, as well as a healthy lifestyle means some physical work, watching what you eat and eating as much as possible, eating and drinking as much as possible in a healthy way. That's part of work-life balance as well.
And that healthy lifestyle, especially with eating, a lot of workaholics are people who are constantly working, and especially with mothers who are going to work, coming home, doing collecting children from school, being the taxi of mom, then coming home, cooking the dinner, doing the homework, getting the lunch box ready for tomorrow, and then doing a little bit of what needs done around the house.
Yeah.
It's that time just escapes an awful lot of people.
Yeah, at that time in life, women, they can barely find any time. So
Mm.
how you get them to find time is identifying their needs, then identifying their values and what is it that would be good for them in their life that they would like to do. Because there's no use. I mean, I remember coaching somebody in this, Mary. Well, I don't know if it was some of the gym now or if it was about dancing, but I think it was the gym. And they said to me, Mary, I'm not going to a gym. Don't even ask me to take up a gym. I don't enjoy a gym. So it's really important that we start to do exercises if we're going to start getting a work-life balance, that we do something that we like, that we enjoy. We have to make the goal easy. Now, I'm not saying some people will argue with me and say goal is no good. If it's easy, it has to be challenging. But I don't mean easy in that way. What I mean is it's something that you like, that you'll
You
enjoy doing.
you enjoy doing because if we don't enjoy doing something as part of our work-life balance, then it's not a balance. It's not a work-life balance. It's just doing something and it's part of work.
Yeah,
And when we're that work-life balance for me, Mary, I don't know what about you, it's where I clear my head. I forget all about the clutter and the busyness of my mind, and I quieten the mind
yeah.
and I connect to me.
Yeah, yeah. And that's why I think really and truly mindfulness meditation is very, very helpful for work-life balance. And as you said earlier, self-regard, because some of us don't give ourselves enough of a kindness, compassion to ourselves. That's again part of work-life balance is where do you get
Yeah.
time just to be, just to relax and just be. And some of us just don't, we are just always going, always doing, you know.
Because I was that person years ago.
There you
I
are.
was that person. I was a separated, divorced mother and the children, and just put everything into the children, whereas I lost my identity.
That can
And that's
happen
where
too.
that
Yeah.
happens even in the work-life balance. You just become that employee, the person who's always dependable, reliable, gets things done, delivers, but they lose their own identity in
In all
not
of it.
having that work-life
Yeah.
balance.
Yes, and the other thing I remember when I was studying all of this in coaching, I remember as well about making sure you go and leave the house once a week to do some sort of a hobby
Yes.
because you need to get out of the boundaries of your home. Because when you're at home, you think of things sometimes differently and you bypass things. Whereas if you get out of the house to do one thing a week where you meet a friend or you go to an exercise class, but you get out once a week is very important as well for work-life balance, that you get outside the home for to do something that you really enjoy.
Because we humans, we're social beings.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
And
Connection. Yeah.
yeah, we need that connection and that connectedness to where we are or what we're doing. And to me, it's like you talked about that, that self-care and looking after our health. If we're just focused on work, 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 we're neglecting our health.
Yes, yeah, yeah, and our health will get affected if we're not looking after ourselves. And I remember one person saying to me, "Oh, I grab food on the go all the time," and she was then giving out to me about herself because she'd put on a lot of weight. And I just that's why I do the give me a typical week in your life. And when I did that, she was eating sometimes at 8 and 9 at night her dinner. And I said, do you realize, that eating that late at night, the food just stays in your body. And that's how you're putting on so much weight. It turns into sugar. And anyway, I got her to go to a nutritionist because I'm not a nutritionist, but I got her to see someone because she just was eating late at night and she's got into a habit of doing it as well.
Yeah. It's,
Yeah.
it's a habit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not having a work-life balance. And then it takes about 6 weeks to 8 weeks to get into the new habit of ensuring that you put that half an hour, 20 minutes of a day
Yeah.
to creating that work-life balance,
Yeah.
changing your diet, your eating behavior habits,
Yeah.
or your
Yeah.
exercise habits. And
Yeah.
it's about creating that habit, isn't it?
Yeah, and I get them like when they're with me for work-life balance, I get them to do a goal, but the goal has many, many steps.
Yes.
Because when somebody said to me once, "Oh, Mary, I'm here because I want to lose weight." Well, number one, we don't believe in saying lose something because the subconscious mind tries to find ways to put it back on you again. So it's more like I'm getting down to size 10, or I'm getting down, I'm looking at my suit, I'm going to fit into this in July, something like that. But the other thing I would do with them as regards work-life balance would be the set a goal, but in those steps. So the goal would be I'm living a healthy and a joyful life, or I'm now living a healthy lifestyle. Because saying to me, I want to be coached and losing weight, that's only one step of a healthy lifestyle. It's not
Yeah.
just about losing weight. You have to eat well. You have to watch what you're eating, and then you need exercise as well. And then to have a hobby or two. And as you said, women at our age, sometimes at the moment, I go out and I do my dancing. I like dancing, dance step fit. But what I'm saying is we need something to take ourselves out and we need to start giving back to ourselves as well.
Yes.
Yeah, because we haven't done it for a long time.
Because, there's many things that, I go, oh, I used to do this. And my grown-up children go, well, we never knew this. I said, oh, that was pre-mommy time, pre-mommy. And
Yeah,
sometimes, we forget, the things that we used to like to do because we're so busy doing. And,
yeah,
our priorities would change as
yeah,
well. But
yeah.
I think when you get that work-life balance, when you get into the habit of doing that, we become more productive in work.
Yeah, we do. We work, we become more productive, but also in our own home, we will find we are finding the time to do what we want to do. And the other part of work-life balance is really important is that you make time for friends. As you said, we're social people. And, you know, when my son was young, sometimes I didn't go out at the weekend because I'd be with him a lot, you know. Whereas now it's my time again to rekindle and keep in touch with friends and meet up with them because it's really, really important part of your health to be around people. It's really important for our health. A lot of people don't realize that, but we are meant to be connected to other people. And that's so important for us. And it's also part of our happiness, you know, being happy.
Yeah.
It's really important that we are around and connecting with people because that helps us be happy in our lives, you
And
know.
everybody thinks, oh, happy is about being joyful, laughing, and oh, the
Yeah.
life and soul of the party or the room. But sometimes being happy is just being content, being
Mhm.
fulfilled. We talked about fulfillment before, but
Yeah.
being fulfilled.
Yeah. I was listening to a great interview with Oprah and Dr. Now I can't remember his name. I think Oliver something, but they've written a book together on happiness. And it was really interesting because he talked about we need family, we need friends in our life, and we need people that we love and enjoy to go out with. And the last thing he said was we need is fulfillment and meaning in our lives. Because once we are in service to others and we feel we're making a difference, that brings the happiness in.
Yes.
If you're not in service, and he said, if you're not doing anything where you feel on purpose, you can be unhappy. I mean, I'm going to get the book now. I can't remember the full name of the book. It only,
It'll come to you when you're going to sleep tonight, or
yeah,
when we finish this, it'll
yeah.
come to you.
But it's just, you know, people define happy in so many different ways. And some people, you know, I remember Robert Holden wrote a lot about happiness as a journey and all of that. And I remember him saying, you know, don't wait until you get that car to be happy. Don't wait until you get that woman or man to be happy. Be happy in the present moment now. It's a choice. That's what he wrote. I think it was about happiness as a choice.
I think that is true. I always say happiness is a choice. We
Yeah,
choose, again, that goes to the mindset. It goes to, you know, we can choose to be happy, we can choose to be negative, and that goes all back to the language that we use in our self-talk
yeah,
and the
yeah,
vocabulary and the words we use and the tone of voice. So
yes.
it's that same and getting that work-life balance is saying, okay, there's something amiss here because our body communicates to us anyway. So our body is telling us if we're not we don't have that work-life balance. So our body is telling us because something's amiss. We're either on low energy, we're
Mm,
not feeling fulfilled, we don't feel, we're grumpy, we get sick. So our body is telling us we
yeah,
don't have that work-life
yeah.
balance.
Yeah, there was a book, I gave it away a long time ago, but I had it for a while. It was called Your Body Never Lies. It was written by two doctors. And they were just saying that to listen to your body because it gives you messages before anything else. You know, that it tells you when you're feeling well. And I think people as well that don't have a work-life balance, when you're with them in company, all they ever talk about is work. And if you're with them in company, they want to bring everything around to work again, you know, and you're kind of going, did they do anything but work? And they talk about work all the time. Have they no other hobbies or anything in their life, you know? And I think as well at our age, a lot of women like to travel. It's their time. You know, it's like people retiring. I met two people that weekend and both of them have retired. And I said, and you know the way our values change as we change as people and as we develop and we get older, our core values change. And I met these two people and said, Mary, my children are reared now and I'm planning my holidays. I'm going to go away. And a lot of people will put travel as a high value at this time, at the age where we are in our lives, you know?
An awful lot of women travel on their own as well. And then they join groups where there's an awful lot of groups and travel agents and travel companies that actually cater for women traveling on their own.
Oh, there is now. Yeah, there's great choices out there. Yeah. So people can, I have a friend that goes on her own and she always goes with a group of people and they're just all going on their own. They're not going to meet each other or anything like that. It's just they're traveling in a group and they have a few plans when they travel, wherever to go. It's a great idea.
So Mary, getting back to that work-life balance, and as you said, you get people to write the wheel of life and you get them to talk about, what are their needs. How do when would you say somebody is to actually make that decision to create a work-life balance, behavior, new behavior habit before it becomes a burnout?
Yeah, that's a good question. Burnout, yeah. Um, well, you see, when you're not, as you said, you need to listen to your body, but it's not just that. I think if you are someone fortunate enough to have friends, yeah, some of your friends will say to you, do you have to work so many hours? Can you not stand back a bit and take a few less hours? I mean, I certainly know I said it to one of my friends, and she asked to work because she just give up 1 day a week working, and she got it. She just asked and she got it. And it's made a huge difference to her in her life. So it's kind of to get that work-life balance before burnout, because burnout can affect you very badly and your health. And we don't want that to happen. So it's to be able to get that work-life balance. But it means you have to change your values. It means you have to put, you have to change your core values and then prioritize them to the right order, to change. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to have a lovely lifestyle now. And then somebody says, what are you doing? I'm doing the same as ever. I mean, you can't have a lifestyle if you have been working all the hours and you have nothing outside. So it's
And
kind of a
also
building up.
prioritizing, you said the word I was thinking about, so
Yeah,
prioritizing your life,
yeah,
making yourself a priority.
yes, which a lot of women don't do. Yeah, yeah. And it's kind of saying I'm making myself a priority in self-regard, in compassion when I'm healthy. You see, it's a lot of people, as you know, don't do it until the doctor tells them you better start going for walks, you better watch what you're eating. And some people don't do it until it's too late. And then they have an awful lot of work to do. I mean, even like watching what you eat, even, anything like that, it is a new habit. You have to form it, and it takes 30 days for a habit to really
Yeah.
sink in. So I mean, you've got to say, I'm creating new good habits here, and I'm letting go of bad habits. We all have them. I mean, when my son was young and he loved crisps, if I open a packet, I eat them all. So I don't have crisps in the house. So we can do this. I can say, no way, I'm not having crisps because I know I'd eat them myself,
Yeah.
and it's the same with chocolate. I have a friend who eats a lot of chocolate. And when I go and visit her, there's chocolate always on the table. Do you know what I mean? It's a habit.
Yeah.
Now, if she could just not have chocolate around, she probably wouldn't even need it.
And that's where you sort of change your shopping behavior habits.
Yeah, that's part of your work-life balance, yeah. And shopping when it's a good, oh yeah, that was another thing I worked out with someone. She used to eat very badly, but she used to shop. She used to go shopping every second day in the local little shops. And she was first spending a fortune, but also every second day when she go to the shop, she sees something like chocolate that she'd buy. So I worked with her to decide whether it was Thursday, Friday, or Saturday or Sunday, but mostly Thursday, Friday, Saturday, which day was she going to do a big shop for the week, get in the right vegetables, get in the right uh, food, meat, whatever. And it made a massive difference in her life. She did the whole shopping in 1 day, which meant unless she ran out of something, she wasn't buying chocolate every day she went in. You
Yeah.
know, so a big shop is a healthy way of really getting yourself. Because I tell you why, if you don't have, let's say, fish in the house, and if you don't have chicken, well, I mean, they're the two things that people we say eat that we should eat a lot of. But or you could be a vegan or vegetarian. But if we don't have the food easy in our household, we're going to do without, or we're not going to start those new habits of eating healthy.
And also what I do is I use even orange juice for vitamin C. I actually juice my own orange juice, buy the oranges and just juice them. Because I find that the orange juice that I like we buy, it tastes different. And
Mm.
my stomach, it upsets my stomach. So
Yeah.
I just now it's a habit. Every day I squeeze 2 or 3 oranges and I drink it. And especially if I get tired, that's my 3 o'clock sugar lift.
Yeah, and that's another thing about work-life balance. You see, there is that side of it as well that's worth thinking about, which is the nutritional part, or going to see someone. Because I would have done that years ago. I learned so much, really learned so much, and like when to eat and when to become aware of when your energy goes low. And then to know when your energy goes low, what to eat. You don't fill yourself with just sweets. You need to be able to say, okay, I'll have an apple at 11
Yeah.
or whatever. So there's so many books out there. And that man that died, he was brilliant on the, I got his book, the what was it was called now? Michael, you know, your man that died in the island of Greece. He died, he collapsed.
Right.
Yeah, he was brilliant. Dr. Mosley, was it? He
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he was brilliant. I followed what he said a lot. Don't eat until 10, finish eating between 6 and 7, and intermittent fasting. And then to give your body a break once a week, which I do once a week. Now, sometimes I do it on a Monday, but it's always either Monday or Tuesday where I don't eat for the full day. And the next day, I have to say, I do feel an awful lot, really more fresh, because our body, like we are what we eat. And like I remember people saying that a long time ago. And if we eat the wrong food and we take too much sugar, it has a huge effect on our energy levels, you know. So there's so much there in work-life balance as well. So you have your mindset, the mental part, you have your physical part, moving your body, and then you also have the area of what you eat, what you put into your body as well.
And we were talking about earlier where you talked about self-regard. That's self-care and prioritizing. And where you said also be kind to ourselves.
Yeah,
We can, and being kind to ourselves all starts to in our self-talk and
yes,
how we speak to ourselves. Again, the mindset, the vocabulary, the
yeah,
words we use, the tone of voice, in what
yeah,
in our self internal dialogue and
yeah,
our self-talk.
yeah,
Because every word that we use has a frequency, vibration, and energy throughout our body.
yeah,
And we are
yes,
what we think. Like you said,
yeah.
we are what we eat. We are what we think.
Yes, and I remember the Gremlin. Gremlin is the biggest influencer when people are wanting to lose weight and when they're watching what they're eating. And I remember this girl saying to me, I was coaching her, and she said, Mary, I was doing brilliant all week. Didn't eat chocolate, didn't drink wine at night during the week. Then she said it came Friday. Now she was to go off everything for a week just to see, but it came Friday, and she said the gremlin was in her head, and I said, that was a hard week's work. Now you deserve your glass of wine, you deserve your chocolate, and you deserve it. And she broke it on the Friday evening. And I said, what happened? You were doing so well. She goes, Mary, the little voice in my head came in and told me I was doing a great job. Just go now. I deserve to relax. So then I gave her an affirmation, and it worked for me and it worked for her. And the affirmation I always remember is when you're tempted to take the cake or the chocolate or the glass of wine, tell your mind, I've had it before. I can have it again, not just now, because the mind can only, as you know, take one thought at a time. So if you see it in front of you and say, I've had it before, can have it again, not just now, that will stop you from taking the bite of chocolate or whatever. It
I
works.
used to have chocolate every night at 9 o'clock
Really?
and a packet of crisps. I had to have chocolate and a packet of crisps. 9 o'clock. That was my little guilty pleasure.
Wow. Well, you see, that's another part of work-life balance. As you said, apart from self-compassion and self-regard, we also need to award ourselves.
Yeah.
People don't do that.
No.
Like getting a driving test, that was years ago. I was very young when I got my driving test. But I'm just saying, I remember I wasn't a coach then. I was working in DSB, I think, when I got my driving test. And I mean, I remember saying, oh, I'm going to celebrate. And so I said, what are you celebrating? And I said, I'm celebrating I got my driving test, but I won't be drinking and driving like I'm celebrating I got my driving test. But I remember even then, and then when we studied as coaches, we were told we reward ourselves when we achieve something.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how small that is. Just reward yourself, give yourself a little treat you know,
Yeah.
and it's really amazing. I love clothes and I love complimenting people when they wear something that I really like. But I have somebody I know and I realized, God love her, she's very shy. She would never give you a compliment. But then I realized the reason she has no capability of giving anyone a compliment because she doesn't even give herself any sort of compliment or, because it's easy to compliment somebody else if you are kind to yourself. It's easy to be kind to somebody else. But when you don't receive it yourself, how can you give it to someone else?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that also is, when you think about it, is when we're creating that work-life balance, it's about boundaries, isn't it?
Yeah.
We have to create boundaries with
Yeah.
ourselves, with even the boundaries of the chocolate. Now, I don't eat chocolate at all now,
Right?
and still the crisps, I would still would be crisp, and I'd have to have them, the hunky dories or the something with Golden Wonder years ago. Do they still do Golden Wonder or the Tater?
Yeah,
And,
I remember I loved the Golden Wonder. I
yeah,
don't think they do them anymore. They were lovely.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I don't eat, I eat maybe once or twice a week. And so now I've even cut that back because I
Yeah.
got the boundaries. Okay, it's a boundary. I've had too many this week. And how I got off chocolate was I told myself it was poison.
That
It
works as
poisoned my
well.
body.
You can do that. You can tell yourself something about food, and if you tell yourself enough, you will go off it. You will
Yeah.
completely go off it. Do you remember? I'll never forget this. The power of the mind. I was at some talk. This man was saying, "Do you remember the cones you used to get, and there was marshmallow in the middle, and the top was chocolate,
Yes.
and you bite it? I adore them." And he said, at his talk, he said, "Now, I want you to imagine when you bite into one of them," and he was talking about that cone, the chocolate cones that I used to adore, used to. And he said, "I want you to imagine when you bite in that softness in the middle, they're full of white worms. It's all white
Oh,
worms." And
yeah.
I'm very visual, really
So
visual.
my, yeah.
So all it went right into my head. And that was before I studied NLP or anything. This is years ago. And from that day to this day, I will not eat one of those because the minute I see them, the softness in the middle, I'll think there's white worms in it. So I never went near it after that. It worked. That's how quick it worked.
So that's the power of the mind, the
Yeah.
power of the language, and the power of visualizing it.
Yes. To treat them dead right. You got it. Yeah. You got yeah, I suppose it's the very same as the power of the mind that we use when I walk the fires with Anthony Robbins. He's telling you you're walking on cool moss when you're working on blazing fires. You know what I mean? Like
Wow.
that's
He's
that
amazing.
that's the power of the mind. And I remember thinking about the mind a lot when I had to wrestle because we were very busy there. And one time I needed a plate and we ran out of them on the counter, on the main counter. And I ran in and the people in the kitchen said, "Mary, the dishwasher's on." And I just pulled it open, got a plate and took it out. And it worked. They all couldn't understand how the plate didn't burn my hands. I had switched off. I just wouldn't let the heat even come near me, think about. And I had brought the plate out, even though I was piping hot the plate. And I just thought the power of the mind is unreal. We like
Wow.
walking the fires. You can tell yourself so much. I'm walking on cool moss when you're really walking and blazing fires. The mind is extremely powerful, extremely
I'm
powerful.
watching a reel this morning, and it's Joe Dispenza, and he was saying about how um there was an experiment and research done on men in their 70s, and they were taken to away for a weekend or somewhere. And but the main important part is what a researcher, a woman said to him, "I want you to imagine this week you are 22 years younger." She's and they said then in the research came out that she went out and played baseball with them during the week. They were playing baseballs without their canes, and their fingers were longer. So the power of the mind, of
Mm.
even you think an awful lot of people dread, especially in the work-life balance, uh, and getting that is that it's all in the mind that they can't find the time, they can't change their behavior habits. And even with age, "Oh, I'm old, I'm too old for that."
Yeah.
We are the age we think we are.
Well, I used to say to my husband, because he is 12 years older than me, and I think I said it at my 50th, I said, "You're my husband is as young as the woman he feels." You know that expression. But he does act. He acts a lot younger than he is, his age.
Yeah.
He absolutely, and it's all in the mind. I totally agree with you. It's completely in the mind. And that's where sits the limiting belief. One of the biggest limiting beliefs in the world is I have no time.
Yeah.
In the world. It's one of the biggest limiting beliefs. And if you say to yourself, a lot of times, I've no time, you will manifest that you have no time for anything. And I always say to people, you get 24 hours a day. Everybody gets the same amount in this world anyway, 24 hours of time. And what I say to people is We just have to regulate, set in the boundaries, and look at what you do with your time.
Yes.
That wakes them up a bit. That does wake them up. And especially when I share them, I say, well, this is a typical week in my life. And they're going, oh, and I said, and I'll always have a walk in. And on a Sunday, I always go out. I like to go out on a Sunday for lunch. And I've been doing it since I had the restaurant, because a lot of them are saying, my Aunt Kitty, she used to always say, go out yourselves on a Sunday, have something to eat and have somebody else serve you, because you spend your whole week serving,
Yeah.
So, but they all are habits and boundaries and
Yeah.
mindset. Everything is. And if you tell it yourself long enough and strong enough that I don't have any time, then you'll find you don't have any.
Yeah. You are what you think.
Yeah.
You are.
Yes. Yeah.
And in that is when we get that work-life balance, and it's even we teach people how to treat us. So if we don't have boundaries and we don't have a work-life balance, then people are going to keep dumping more work on you and more things on you. You're going to
Yeah.
say, no, that took a lot out of me to say no.
Yeah. Being able to say no effectively is a huge challenge as
Yeah.
well.
Now
And you will,
but apparently my son told me, he started saying no, no, no. And I go, Kevin, you're saying no an awful lot. And he goes, well, that's what you said to me when I was younger. No, no, no. And I said, isn't it what made you the man you are today? But I said, well, I would say I never said no enough.
yeah,
In my mind, in my
yeah,
head said, I never
yeah,
said no enough to my
yeah.
children, because I was
Well,
overcompensating for being a mother parenting alone after the divorce.
and you see, the other thing is as well, I mean, when you work with somebody, you might think it's simple establishing a work-life balance. It's not simple.
Mm.
As coaches, we have to drill down, find out and especially people suffering from the empty nest syndrome, which
Oh
means they
yeah.
feel that they're not needed anymore. I mean, you have to drill down, you have to look at their needs, you have to look at their values, and the values will be changing. And you've also to look at their limiting beliefs and their behaviors and the habits that they have, because people form very bad habits unconsciously.
Yes.
And then the other thing, as you said, being able to say no effectively. I had to learn, and there was a choice. I chose to learn how to say no effectively, because I had one stage I was so busy, I had to stop doing some things. And I must say, for some people, they find it very difficult to say no. But I remember, if you say yes to everything, what is it worth? It's worth a zero. And that's why I say to people, being able to say no effectively gives you your time back. Being able to say no effectively means you value your time. Because people that have the limiting belief, I've no time, also will have a limiting belief and an action of not valuing their time themselves.
Yeah.
And then they're taken advantage of.
Yes.
Yeah.
I find, what gives me that sort of space of my life balance is I love nature. And even if now my garden's getting smaller and smaller now because I'm getting older, you
Yeah.
have to have that realistic thing is the body isn't as young as the mind, so you have to get that alignment,
Yes.
and be realistic. So, but I love just going out and just pulling weeds or pulling something. Now I have a couple in the front I have to do, just reminded me. But even just touching the lavender bushes and just
Yeah.
having the aroma of the whiff of the lavender bushes, listening to birds singing.
Yes. Yes. Well, that's all mindfulness. Doing that is mindfulness. Being mindful of the voice, the no, or the singing of the birds. All of that is really good because it takes you out of thinking.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
And
that's
the other one that comes in, it's just coming into me now around habits and forming habits, is the exercise that I do on what you call them, competing commitments. That has a lot to play a part of in weight loss as well.
say that
Or
again, competing.
competing commitments.
Uh-huh.
And let me give you an example because I think it's the best one. Okay, I was coaching this man and he was with me now for his work as well, but I was coaching him, and one day I was working with him and he said, Mary, the doctors told me I have to cut back on my drink. And he goes, I drink during the week, and then every Friday after the work, we go out and I play golf and I have a few drinks. But he said, I've been told by my health to cut back. So I said, okay, let's do this exercise. So your goal is on cutting back on drink. Now we formed in a positive way. So I am drinking whatever I'm drinking healthy. And that would mean then he's not drinking as much drink. But then he had that. Then the next heading was, so yeah, let me see now. It's a goal, then it's a commitment. So your commitment is I want to get I want to live a healthy life. But the competing commitment is, and it's full of assumptions, the competing commitment is, oh, if I don't drink, I'm not as much fun. Oh, if I don't drink, nobody will want to hang around with me. These are all assumptions that we tell ourselves. And then the last one is knowing that you have those assumptions, you coach them around them, and then you get them to commit to action is the last area. You commit to action. But the competing commitments can stop you. They can cause you not to achieve your goal, any goal. I mean, you know, as you said, if you have a goal to get down to a certain weight, you must start giving up the things that you're eating or drinking that's causing the weight, or else it's not going to happen. But sometimes the
Even
competing
exercise.
commitment is higher.
Yeah. And so you have to cut down on the intake of food,
Yeah,
calories.
yeah,
My son always says you need a calorie deficit and you need exercise.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And you have to do more exercise to you have to do your exercise for that day, that daily exercise, and a little bit extra to help get the weight off. And then that becomes a behavior habit.
yeah,
And
yeah,
you're putting down the boundaries
yeah,
of in your life and saying, no, I'm going to put this time and effort in changing my shopping behavior habits in the
yeah,
supermarket,
yeah.
even setting out a menu, your
Mm-hmm.
ingredients that you need to buy in shopping behavior, the ingredients for the menu. Then you have to, then it's the cooking prep time, preparing your meals if you have a
Yeah,
hectic week ahead,
yeah,
or saying, okay, no, it takes me half an hour to prepare this. I'm going to start cooking earlier instead of going, oh, I'm too tired to cook, or I couldn't be bothered. Or do
yeah,
a bit prep. And then it's about getting to the habit of eating what's in the menu for that week,
yeah,
and that time of even saying, okay, yeah, I'm going to go out and even just be in the garden, even if it's just doing nothing in the garden, but just touching the flowers and you putting
yeah,
that mindfulness
yeah,
in to help. Because when we have that work-life balance, we become much more productive,
yeah.
become much more creative in our productivity
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
happier, and we're in that present moment.
Yeah, it is true. And I wouldn't say very many people, I know coaches are good at work-life balance, but I can think of, some of my friends, some of them have work-life balance for sure. And then there's a few of them, and I say to myself, how do they just work the way they're working? You know what I mean? And it's not only that, though, when you give up work, when you retire, especially for men. Now, I know we're talking about women a bit here today, but men, they need to take hobbies up after they retire for sure. They need to look at what's important to them, what their values are, and start getting things to do. Because otherwise, as you often heard us say, people retire and they don't live very long. Well, long ago, they used to live very long after they retired because it just felt useless and not fulfilled and not no purpose.
That
So
was just what I was thinking when you said it.
yeah.
We seem to be on the same wavelength because when I'm thinking, you're saying
Yeah, but it is true. Yeah,
we
it is.
all need a purpose in life.
Yeah,
We all need a reason to get up in the morning for.
yeah,
We
yeah,
need something to get up for every morning. We
yeah.
need a purpose. We need an aim, a goal, and an intention.
And as you said about the words we describe our world, we are the world we describe. And I mean, when I was given a talk on retirement for the elderly people that were just retiring from a company. And this man said to me, it was a disaster. I'm at the age I have to retire. It's a disaster. And I reframed it and I said, now let's turn it on its head and look at the opportunity you have now.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do with your time? Let's look at your values, your family, your friends. Do you want to spend more time? Where do you want to spend more time? You have the time now to do it. And anyway, in the end, I would have worked with him in changing it all around and being a great opportunity. And then he looked and considered what he was going to do in a very different light. He looked at John as again, Dr. Wayne Dyer says, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
I
And
think, yeah.
that's a really good one for people when they retire. Instead of seeing it as, oh, I've retired and that, they look at it a completely different way.
Another phrase I used to love Dr. Wayne Dwyer saying is, do you live in a friendly world or a hostile world?
Yeah, that's a lovely question to ask yourself. And we will attract whichever we believe in.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will.
So so get back to somebody listening to this. The work-life balance is really about making yourself a priority, looking at your own needs, wants,
Yeah,
and looking at listening to your body. What is your body telling you
Yeah,
if you haven't got that work-life balance?
yeah, yeah. That's it, really. It is not as easy as it sounds
No,
because there will be a lot of letting go of bad habits, forming new habits, and that takes it takes a bit of resilience, but it also takes
right.
strength and determination,
Yeah.
as well. It really does. And of course, goal setting around it will really make it concrete. You know what I mean? Setting a goal and living a healthy and happy lifestyle, and the date is, and then you put in all the steps. I definitely think it's one area that's worth taking it apart and then setting a really good solid goal around it.
It takes tenacity as well
Yeah,
and discipline to
yes,
actually say, okay, well, even going out at lunchtime, even for a walk, a 5 minute walk around the block,
yeah,
even just uh that discipline of stay and the tenacity and that discipline in staying on track in because you as you talk about the gremlins, you always have them gremlins when you're changing the behavior habit. This isn't for me, and no, I don't like this. It took me about 18 months, even just to like the gym for movement.
right.
And
Yeah.
I had gremlins. And do you know what my self-sabotage was? I was hungry the minute I was just turned the door to walk out to go to the gym. I was starving. I was starving. So
Yeah.
then I would go in and get something to eat before I go over. And the gremlins say, you need fuel for this. Your body needs fuel for the gym.
That's the gremlin again. It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very true. We have to kick the gremlin out the door when it comes to watching what
Yeah.
you're eating. But the other thing, and you mentioned it, is, the habits that we're forming. We really need to be disciplined in the
Yes.
habits that we form, and they're not easy for anybody. They're not easy. They're challenging, you
And
know.
to change a habit or behavior,
Mm,
we've got to change the mindset
yeah. You must.
because we've
You
got to
must.
be connected to the value of the life. So it starts, as you said, the value,
Mm-hmm.
then the value to the behavior to bring in the outcome of a work-life balance. We've got to go to the value, go to change the mindset
Yeah.
before we can change the behavior
Yeah.
and the habits.
Yeah, yeah. It's so it's all linked. It's all
It's
linked.
all
Very much.
linked, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it is. So yeah, so I think I as regards work-life balance and the empty nest syndrome is just, as you know, it's happens when people feel they're not needed anymore and they have to look at their new needs and what they want to do. But as you said there, it's all about mindset change, behavior, and then outcomes. It's all about that. Behavior
Mary, I
change.
think we should really do an in-depth conversation about empty nest syndrome for women, especially for women. I think maybe we should do what is just a real sort of program on the empty nest syndrome.
We could do that because I have a lot of experience in coaching people that suffered
Yeah.
from it, and different people suffer in different ways. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I have to say I was delighted. I never had empty nest syndrome because I always put things in place for when my children did go to university
Yeah.
and did leave home. There was always, I had things in place that I was busy.
Yes. Yes.
Again, it's
Yes.
like we're saying get the work-life balance
Yeah.
for, for people. And then I think when you have that empty nest syndrome, it's about keeping yourself busy and occupied.
Yeah. It
You don't
is.
you don't think about the empty nest syndrome. You bring purpose and value,
Yeah.
and you bring purpose into your life. You bring new opportunities into your life.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. Very true. They're very different when you think about it that way.
Yeah. So maybe next week or like 2 weeks time, we should really do something on the so we're giving you all a little preload now. The next one is going to be on empty nest syndrome.
Yeah, and what I'll do is I'll think in my own reflect, of
Yeah,
course. Because I have loads of different people I've worked with. They had it, but they had it in different ways, and it
different
affects
way.
some people a different way than others.
And it does. And it's amazing how people say when the children go off to universities, sometimes women go back to education, they take up a hobby, but sometimes it's the fathers that have more of an issue that the children have left home.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I
very true.
said, thank God. and then they still keep coming back. It's like, but it wasn't, thank God. I think it was the fact is, flap your wings, go off, fly your wings. It's like a little bird. Flap your wings, go
Yeah.
new adventures,
Yeah.
and find things out about yourself. And
Yeah.
it's always nice for the children to know, you know, that they have their own identities. But it's
Yes.
also nice for the children to know that their parents have their own identities, especially mothers.
Yeah.
That mothers also have an identity.
Yeah.
And that's trying to reconnect to your
Yes.
identity if you have spent a lot of your time and effort as a mother,
Yeah.
um, providing and ensuring and being there for your children.
Yeah,
Especially,
because I often heard it in the schoolyard when you were I was bringing my son to school, and such one would say, "Oh yeah, you're Dion's mother," and somebody else would say, "Oh, you're Sean's mother," and I'm kind of going, "Am I not something on my own? Like, am I
yeah,
not, on my like my own identity, And that's what happened. That's what happened.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's about having that again, that purpose
yeah,
in life
yes,
that
yeah.
fulfills you.
Yeah, yeah, you do. And sometimes you feel when you feel not needed, you can feel unfulfilled. I mean,
Yes.
you feel unfulfilled, you definitely don't feel you have a purpose. So it all links again. Yeah.
And it links again for that, especially for the work-life balance, finding that purpose to something that fulfills you in uh in something that has completely nothing to do with your work.
Yes, yes, finding something outside of work. Absolutely, yeah.
Nothing
Yeah.
to do with like that just clears your head.
Yeah, yeah. And it is vital that you do that because I absolutely love my work. However, I very much noticed I must take up something outside of work. It like even though because when you love your work, you could do it all day long and every hour all day. But it's when you realize you need something outside of work as well. Yeah.
I never realized, Mary, that I was creative until I was in my 50s.
Wow.
I
Wow.
never realized that that was a strength
Yeah.
and a skill that I had. Now, I knew before, I knew, but I never named it. I never could say, "Oh, I am creative." I just was doing and always coming up with things, but I
Yeah.
never realized or acknowledged to myself that I was creative.
There you are. Yeah, there you are. And people don't find out their full capabilities and strengths until later on in life for some people.
Some people with their work-life balance, they go away for weekends. Some people start to take up a new hobby, as you said
Yeah,
earlier on, or a new skill. Some people then go to night classes. Some people go and do exercise, join a walking group, a gym group, Pilates or something.
yeah,
But it's just that work-life balance is actually honoring yourself
yeah,
and prioritizing yourself and making yourself a priority in your own life.
yeah. That's what it is. Very nice instead, Roisin. Very good. Yeah.
Well, Mary, thank you so much as always. I really enjoy our conversations. And it's really brought an awful lot of value to Competent Women Ireland having you here. And so thank you so much indeed. And the next one is on the empty nest syndrome.
Yeah. I look forward to that, Roisin. I do look forward to, it'd be interesting. As I said, I'll do a little bit of research and, reflection because there is a lot that goes on for people, when they suffer from it.
And you know what? I've just thought when I picked up your book, do you know what? The work-life balance happens when you are ready to listen.
True,
Just hit me
true.
there when I picked it up. So the work-life balance does. You only decide to make that decision, that choice, when you're ready to listen to your body, for how you're fulfilled in your life, and when you listen to yourself.
Yeah, true. Very true.
Isn't it? So,
Yeah.
Mary, can you just give our viewers and listeners information of how they can get in touch with you and how they could also source your amazing book?
Okay, so the book, you can email me through my website if people want to on marycurran.ie, and I have some books, so you could order one that way, or else it's through Amazon.com or Balboa Press, the publishing company. You can buy it from either of those places as well.
Well, Mary Curran, I will also put your website and your email address into the description box below. And so,
Okay.
so people can just go into the description box and click that link and order this amazing book and pick up the phone if they are looking for coaching in leadership, career change, and work-life balance.
Thanks so much, Roisin. Thank you.
Mary Curran, thank you so much for taking the time to come on and speak to Confident Women Ireland today.
My pleasure. Thank you, Roisin.